Okay, welcome to the weekly Inside Real Estate Success Strategies webinar. Our guest today is a nutball. His name is Shane Carroll, a friend of mine for years now from Bond Street Mortgage. How you doing, Shane?
Not too bad, man. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. So the reason I wanted to have you on, we've kind of changed the format here, and I should mention to everybody who's watching live, we do post the recordings of these at insiderealestate.com/webinars. There's a kind of an ugly looking page like this. I got to revamp this thing, but it has all the necessary links, and you can click and see the playlist of all the recent sessions right here. So we've had some great ones lately. We had this one with Aaron, was awesome. Last week we did one about Facebook real estate ad market conditions, and this week, Shane, I want to have you on because I felt bad. We've had all these other guests lately, and I forgot about you. So that's the main reason you're here.
Oh, geez, no, that's all right. I'm happy to be here, but not offended when I'm not.
Right.
There's a lot of people out there in the world.
Yeah. So one of the things that you bring to the table is an interesting perspective because you are not an agent. You work for a mortgage company. You're a licensed lender, but you have an interesting role at Bond Street Mortgage. Do you want to talk about what that is and what you do?
Yeah, I do still hang my license over at Bond Street, but kind of my role over the past few years has been more, working with agents directly, utilizing systems such as KV Core to leverage their business. So kind of working hand in hand with them on, for the purposes of lead generation as well as lead conversion, getting that stuff at the end of the day. Our consumer is the same, right? A large percentage of the people that are looking to buy houses are going to need a mortgage. And, what we kind of found was that, not necessarily only, depending on the agent to figure out how to get their business and convert that business, we were kind of well versed in that. Our guys were trained to convert leads, right? So I think that as real estate kind of shifted into more of that lead gen type atmosphere, we were pretty well positioned to kind of get involved with that and help our agent partners out, with that conversion side of things as well.
So your role is it's a business development role, and you go at it from the angle of not only attracting agents to refer loans to Bond Street, but also to help to kind of co-market and help agents convert the leads that they're getting on systems like KV Core.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's mainly just helping, get those leads and convert those leads, but, sharing in that data with our agent partners to kind of offer. It's weird. You get sometimes, like even within our CRM, we'll be sending texts and emails, and you never know, for some reason, an agent may be dripping on someone for years and that person doesn't reply. And then they reply to one of my text messages, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to things like that. Like, I don't know if it's, hey, maybe you're texting them from a different area code and they see my area code and it makes them more comfortable or whatever it is. But, for whatever reason, sometimes we get that, and it's just kind of another touch from a different level to kind of serve up, utilize those data sets to serve up pre-approved buyers back to our agent partners.
All right, so you played into my hands perfectly here today, and I hope she's on. I got a Facebook message yesterday from somebody who wanted to upload all her leads that she had gotten. It might have been Zillow from another source, but that she had gotten with a lender, but the leads were old and stale. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to upload them to KV Core and wanted some best practices on what to say to do to re-energize those leads. What's your take? What do you do in that situation?
I've actually done that a couple times recently. It's pretty common. I have, agent partners and friends of mine that, will reach out and, maybe they just got KV Core and this is the first time they have a system, right? So anytime you get, you have a fresh KV Core account, the biggest thing is like, yeah, sure, you want that new lead data coming in, but what about all these things that you've paid for over years, right? We don't think about it that there's no expiration date on an internet generated lead, right? That person either bought something and, maybe needs to buy or sell again, or didn't buy anything yet and is still in the market. There's definitely a lot of value in that. And especially when you're looking at things like Zillow and stuff like that, you've already paid for that data set, right? So what I've done a lot recently on stuff like that is, export all that data from wherever it is, Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever, have it imported into KV Core. And then I think I ran for a while. It was just like it's like 3 steps. I think mine's still utilizing webhooks, but I think now you guys can do the voicemail drop right from within KV Core, right?
Yep. So
part of the
let's
script.
I'm going to slow you down a little. So for everybody watching, what Shane is referencing, you can go to the lead engine and you can go straight to the bulk import right here, and either use the wizard. Do you use the wizard, or do you just have our team import for you?
I've done both.
Mhm.
Either way, I think that it really depends. I feel like on how good you are at organizing that data when you put it in, right? If you take the time to set up your spreadsheet appropriately, just go ahead and do it yourself. If you're not super savvy with setting up a spreadsheet and kind of getting the everything labeled and everything correct, just shoot it over to the team and let them handle it. You guys got good people over there to get that done for you. So I think it kind of depends. It depends on where I'm pulling that data from. Some it's kind of like very cut and dry, and some it's kind of all jumbled. If it's a little jumbled, I just kind of send it over to the team to let them kind of sort through that.
Great. So yeah, you're taking old stale lists, and I want to mention you need to be careful with this, everybody. You don't want to spam. Shane, I know you know, I don't know if you go very gray hat, black hat, or white hat with this, but I think if you explained what you do next and what do you actually, what kind of messages do you actually send, if you're comfortable sharing,
Yeah, I mean, what normally what I do is I have like a it's literally like 3 steps that I then just will drop on that old stuff. Maybe I might not do it all at once, but do it, maybe 50, 100 a day or whatever, until it comes through. But it's basically something along the lines of like a voicemail drop, right? So I drop the voicemail first. That's something along the lines like, hey, you've been browsing properties on one of my websites recently, or in the past. I was just reaching out to see if you were still in the market, sort of thing. A lot of these people too, like the consumer doesn't know where they were looking at houses, right? So if they're looking at houses, they're looking on Zillow, they're looking on your KV Core site, they're on Realtor.com, they're all over the place, right? So it's really, I try to try to keep it a little vague and be like, hey, in the past, you've been looking at some homes on, one of my websites. I was just reaching out to see if you needed any help. My second step is like right after that, I drop a text message that's super vague, right? Like, hey, just left you a message. Give me a call when you get a chance, right? Because with that, what I get a lot of is either, first off, you're going to get people to listen to your voicemail because they're like, who is this clown, right? So instead of just ignoring that voicemail, they'll actually listen to it. The other one is you get a lot of text back with just that, who is this, right? Who is this? Who is this? Who is this? And I mean, we've had those conversations for years. And a lot of times I think when people get started in the lead gen world and lead conversion world, they almost are expecting too much. Like they want someone to text them back and be like, hey, I'm ready to buy a house. What time can you go see it? When really all I'm looking for at this point is a conversation, right? This is someone that's been sitting on a spreadsheet. I've already paid for the data, right? I've already paid Zillow or wherever I'm getting this data from. So now I'm really just trying to increase my profit on that data. And even a who is this? Oh, hey, it's Shane. I was just reaching out because I knew you've been looking at some real estate in the past. Were you still in the market, or were you still looking to do something, or do you know anybody that may be interested, sort of thing? And the funny thing with that is that it's very easy for someone to ignore your text message, right? If I text you and I say, hey Ryan, are you still looking to buy a house? You just ignore me and you don't answer me, and that's fine. But once someone replies to you, it's almost like now they feel obligated. Like, people don't want to be mean, so they'd rather ignore you. But when they do reply, right, when you say, who is this? And I'm like, oh, hey, Ryan, you were on my website. Now you at least feel obligated to reply to me and be like, no, I'm not in the market anymore, or, I was just browsing or whatever, but it's a conversation, right? Now you feel obligated to respond to me because you know that I know that you're a real person, So it's kind of like, even that who is this, opening up that conversation is important for me, right? Because all I'm looking to do is figure out who you are, what you're looking to do, and when you're looking to do it. And so I can organize my database appropriately. And then the third one, I'll drop an email a day later. That's kind of just like it's pretty much like my email. Hey, I know you've been looking on my website a little bit in the past. Just wanted to let you know I launched this, this brand new property search website. Here's a link to set up an account. You'll receive new and reduced listings that meet your search criteria, yada, 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 things like that. Basically, just I want to give them a reason to come to my website, right? So it's like, maybe you don't want to, call me back. Maybe you don't want to reply to my text message, but maybe I can get you to click on a link in an email. And sometimes I'll even add that in as a text a day later too. Hey, just wanted to, again, let you know, here's a link to my new website type thing. Because it's amazing how many, when you look at the numbers on things like this, and I mean, I know you've done it over the years too, but it's like you have a link that you could track your traffic to, right? Whether that's through Google Analytics or you're using some kind of tracking link, and you start sending text messages out, right? So say I send 100 text messages out and I get, 15 replies, right? But if there's a link in that text, I'll get like 45 people that click on the text. So that at least you then know the deliverability of that message that's going out. At least I know people did get the message because they clicked the link. And then, that kind of feeds into, retargeting and all that stuff beyond that. But It is kind of interesting the amount of people who, I'm just trying to get people to take whatever path is most comfortable for them, right? If you're comfortable shooting me an email, me back, do it. If you're comfortable calling me, do it. Comfortable texting me, do it. If you're comfortable just clicking on a link and looking at some houses, go ahead.
This is a great 3-step process. And yeah, your point about, we think that a lot of these leads are dead. And the truth is they're just not ready to talk to us right now, just because they're not replying to the automation.
And we've had that conversation in the past too, right? It's like one of my biggest things, even with my guys, the thing that I hate when people tell me when they're calling leads is the not interested, right? I do not believe that any lead is not interested, and you're lying to yourself, right? Because I don't click on houses online because I'm not interested. I might not be ready. There's a million reasons why, I might not have any money. I might be daydreaming. I might be 16, right? But there's a million reasons why I wouldn't buy a house, but none of them are that I'm not interested. Unless you're literally just calling from the phone book, then you could say, person's not interested. But, if they're coming from Zillow, if they're coming from, through your website, clicking on properties, if you're doing
Facebook ad
forums or whatever, if someone's clicking on a house, it's because they're interested,
I occasionally get on our Facebook ad products, Property Boost, and our Facebook buyer advertising. It doesn't happen often, but I'll get somebody who says, all these leads are bad. They're telling me that they weren't even on the website. And sometimes that's true, but usually what I hear there is that the person's trying to blow you off.
Exactly. That's the thing. A lot of it is just someone they're not ready to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. I'm not telling you that someone clicks on a house on Facebook and they want to talk to you, but that doesn't mean that they didn't click it, and that's
some
kind of
interest.
It's funny too, because when you get into the Facebook lead forums and things like that, that's a pre-populated form. So a lot of times I don't think that the consumer necessarily understands they're clicking. But one of the biggest things I see even with that, and this is kind of off topic with, what we're talking about, I guess, but the scripting with talking to a Facebook lead form ad, a lot of people I've been on I've been in rooms listening to agents be, oh, you clicked on my ad on Facebook. Hey, nobody wants to be advertised to, right? So the second that you tell someone you clicked on my ad, they're like, oh, no, I didn't, Whereas I say, hey, where'd you get my number? I don't know. You must have clicked on one of my Facebook posts, maybe one of my listings or one of the listings in my office. Were you thinking about buying something, or, do you own a home in the area currently, or were you thinking of moving from out of town? Like, change your script, right? Because if you tell people they clicked on your ad, you're immediately telling them like, hey, I caught you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I put something in front of you and now you're trapped, and nobody wants that, So whereas if it's kind of more of like, oh, I don't know, I must have posted something and you clicked on it. Now they're like, oh, I just engaged with someone's post. Hey, maybe you didn't realize it, but there was, a pre-populated form with your phone number on there. It was an information request. Maybe you don't want information on this property, but maybe there's something else I could do to help you out. I think that's kind of, with Facebook advertising, it's hard for agents to wrap their head around, because they come from this, Zillow request world where like they request a showing on a property or whatever, which is fine if you want to pay, $150 a lead, go for it, but realize that the percentage of, your conversion rates can be very low on Facebook advertising and your return very high, so at the end of the day, that's kind of the way I look at it, right? We're all trying to, make a living here. And, if I can generate a lot of that data, I mean, it's funny. I just, beginning of this year, it was before COVID, so it must've been February. We actually closed three loans that were leads. And this was pre-KV Core. This was in the conversion days from 2015.
Yeah.
So I closed three leads that came in on a property search website in 2015 in February of this year. So, I think that's it. It's like realizing there is no expiration on date on these things. And, you know, when you're able to generate large databases at a low cost and just kind of keep churning them, you know, that's kind of what the system's set up to do, as long as you know, tell it to do it correctly.
So I really like your approach, because one of my concerns when I got the question yesterday, and whenever I hear this, is like, oh no, this is going to turn into spam complaints, and it's going to hurt. It hurts your reputation if you just go take in an old stale list and you email or text and you say the wrong thing. I think it's very interesting that you're using voicemail drop to kind of, in a cool way, just mention something, and nobody can put a voicemail in the spam box. Right.
No, well, and the thing is too, I mean, I even do it, you know, on the mortgage side, I'll go through old mortgage leads and I do it like as like a customer service follow-up. So, I mean, you could do something even, you know, like that. It makes you seem bigger, like a bigger deal than you are, you know, and you're like, hey, you know, I'm just reaching out. You've been on one of my, on one of my websites. You probably worked with one of my agents. I was just calling to see how they did, you know. It makes it seem like you're like this big super agent with 100 people under you, and you're really just trying to service them. Now they're like, oh, wow, this guy's a big deal. Let me call him back, you know, or be like, hey, I don't think I ever worked with one of your agents. Oh, great. Well, were you still, you know, it's just getting a response and redirecting that response, but coming off in a non-spammy way. Right. And I think that really comes down, like when people think about, oh, I don't want to spam people and things like that. It's like, well, then don't spam them, you know, don't send them crap that they don't care about. And then you're not spamming them. But I think if you're really just doing a long-term follow-up, I don't get many complaints on stuff like that, or no more than I get on new leads, you know, of people saying, you know, I don't want that or whatever.
So you knew they had some intent, some interest at some point. The voicemail goes out, and then the text and the email. I'm just bringing up on the screen here where people can go in the marketplace to hook up voicemail drop. Everything Shane just mentioned, Shane, I don't know if you're doing this, but you could actually build a smart campaign that does all three of these things in that sequence. Right?
It is actually, and I have them built out, but I did it before you guys introduced the voicemail drop, so I was still using a webhook to do that, which I mean. Right. Which the voicemail drop thing that you guys added that in is great, because utilizing the webhook was a little complicated, right? Yeah. So, you know, a lot of agents, I'd be like, oh, do this, and you say webhook, and like you just see like people's eyes glaze over and they're kind of like get lost. Where when you have the plan directly, you know, right from within KV Core, to be able to say voicemail drop, text message, email, it makes it a lot easier than, you know, trying to tie together other third parties. So I think a lot of that stuff is pretty awesome, you know.
So everybody listening, you could go right into the marketing autopilot. You can create a new campaign like lead re-engagement, you know, add the voicemail action, add the text, add the email, and
right from your CRM list, then you can just mass change the campaign. And that's literally what I do anytime I have a new agent that, you know, has recently gotten a KV Core account and they don't have anything in there. I'm like, dude, just import your database, create the campaign, and just assign it to, you know, a bunch of people all at once, you know?
So right here, if you're doing it manually, you see I can send voicemail like that as an action. And then can I actually assign a campaign from here?
Yeah, campaign right there. Yep.
Yeah, okay. I thought I would need to go the hashtag route, but I don't.
Yeah, no, you don't. I thought so at first too. And then I saw that add campaign option there. And I was like, this is great, because it's just, you could just go through and, you know, depending on, you know, I mean, I'll do them, you know, 500 at a time. Some agents will do it 50 at a time and do it every day or whatever, you know, whatever that is. It's, I mean, realize that you're going to get a lot of response back, especially, you know, with the text messages going out. So if you're the agent that, you know, when your phone starts blowing up, it throws you into panic mode, maybe do 50 a day, you know, for a couple weeks to get them out there. If you're the one that's like, okay, like I'm going to sit at my computer and I'm going to manage all this, fire off 500 of them, you know, and then I'll just what I'll do is I'll sit in the dashboard and just change it to new text, you know, incoming text, and then just work right out of the dashboard or right out of my email on things like that.
Great. Do you get a lot of stops? And there's a reason why I'm asking that. What percentage would you say just tell you to stop or don't text me again?
I mean, honestly, I feel like years ago I would get a lot more stops than I get now. I feel like now a lot more people are more receptive to having a conversation. You know, years ago, I think that, you know, especially with the text messaging, you know, it's funny because like we used to get, you know, it used to be all email, right? And then you start getting unsubscribe, I'm calling the cops, you know? And then it was kind of like, the text messaging world came in, people were like kind of offended that you were marketing them via text message, because they weren't used to it yet. So they kind of like, they didn't like it, and you get the, the stop, I'm reporting you, all this stuff. But lately I feel like more people are getting more used to getting marketed to via text message. And if you come across in a non-spammy way, they're more open to getting texts from strangers.
And maybe you've gotten better at your scripts too.
I think that's most of what it is too. I don't get, I mean, not to say that I don't get people telling me to stop or that they're going to find me and murder me or, but honestly, I feel like if I'm not getting a certain amount of people telling me to stop or unsubscribe, then like I'm probably not texting people enough, or I'm not reaching out enough, because at the end of the day, but like, I think that there's even, there's scripts for that too. It's like the same as when you get someone on the phone. Like, my biggest thing too is even when someone says like, leave me alone, I'm just like, a lot of agents ignore that, right? So, that makes you seem spammy, because if you send a text message out, someone gives you a negative response and you just don't reply, now you've just proved to them that you're, that you're spamming them. But I think if you have conversations with people like that and they realize that you're a real person, you can still get business from that. I remember one, for example, late last year, I remember I was doing something similar, but I was doing some mass messages, and someone replied, they shut the F up, I'm not doing anything, blah, blah. And it was a Sunday morning. I remember I texted back and I said, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. Like, you'd been on my website. I was just trying to see if I could help you. I have no problem. I'll remove you from the list. And immediately they reply, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought this was a robot, and now they felt so bad. We ended up, it was her sister who was looking to buy a house. But we got the deal. And it was like funny, because normally people tend to not reply to someone that tells them, to shut the F up and leave them alone. But sometimes replying to those people is the right answer, even if it's just an apology. Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I just noticed that you've been looking for houses in the past. I was just, I always come across it from like, I'm the idiot too sometimes, right? Like, hey, sorry, I was just updating my database and I switched systems and everything got screwed up, and like, I'm just, and people can relate to that, right? Because they've all been in a position where they kind of, maybe have gotten mixed up, So it's interesting, I think, when you kind of, they all of a sudden feel bad for you and then, want to help you.
Yeah, and that brings something to mind. Is there is opportunity there. You could just say, hey, yeah, sorry, and when you're ready to start looking again, and in that language pattern, it's a little deep, but you can almost give them the command and tell them that they are ready to start looking. So say something like, if you start looking for houses again, feel free to use my link. If you become ready to start looking for houses again, there's some NLP embedded command stuff you can do there as well. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And then they think to themselves, oh, actually, yeah, maybe I am looking for a house after all.
Well, and most people are, right? Like, that's the thing. Anything, if I haven't spoken with someone, right, all I'm trying to do is figure out who they are, what they're looking to do, and when they're looking to do it. And that's the majority of what that initial conversation is, because then I can sort my database appropriately and automate everything else. The reality is that, if people are looking at houses online and they haven't bought a house yet, they're probably eventually going to buy a house. If they've already bought a house, they're probably going to sell a house and buy another house, right? Or buy an investment property. Like, people don't normally stop buying and selling real estate. At least, especially when you're talking to, people more, what am I, 36. So like, a lot of my friends now are starting to either, there's two sides, friends that are buying their first home or friends that are buying their second home or investment properties. And then it kind of will dry up a little bit, right? And I think that's a lot of the problem, is then your sphere kind of dries up as you get into your early 40s, because unless your friends are investors, they're not moving as much, right?
Right.
But, the thing is okay, now I got to find more people who are going to at least give me 2-3 transactions in that time. And I think that's where we're getting into, when you talk about the millennial buyer and things like that, that's, that they reply to this sort of thing. They will engage with your text message or click on links and follow, and go to your website and look at houses, and they will transact,
I know you do a ton of Facebook ads. Do you do anything different to appeal to different demographics that way? I mean, we're limited with our targeting.
Well, I mean, realistically, for me, most of what I do from Facebook is retargeting off of traffic, and you're not really limited with your targeting when you go to Google.
Right.
So, which is strange, right? Facebook you can't target, Google you still can. But that's what, you know, that's kind of been a big transition over the past couple of years, is doing more Google front facing, like for that initial traffic, and then utilizing Facebook a lot more for, you know, the retargeting of those audiences based on either traffic, you know, the pages they go to, or that sort of thing.
And I know you guys you still retarget the traffic of your agent partners.
Yeah, we do.
So this is important, everybody who's listening. This is kind of a ninja tip right here, and a lot of gold in this. So what Shane's saying, and I know you guys have spent a lot of money. I helped you spend a lot of it learning this. Basically, the first click comes high intent from Google. So it's somebody searching, you know, buy a house or something like that in a certain area. And then what they're doing is they're retargeting, using Facebook to retarget instead of generate the initial lead. But you're going one step further, and you have your pixel, your Facebook pixel, on your agent partners' sites.
Yeah, and we'll even, I mean, that gets down like a real deep rabbit hole there. But I mean, we're even retargeting search for high intent keywords like mortgage based off traffic to our agent sites. So if you have big enough, you know, if you have big enough data sets of people going, you know, of people visiting real estate websites, and you have, as a lender, you're on multiple agents' websites, and then now all those visitors, now if those people go back to Google and they search for mortgages, now you're bidding on position, but you're getting cheaper clicks than like if you went to Google directly, right? If look, we're a decent sized company, but we're not Quicken Loans, we're not Wells Fargo, you know what I mean? So for me to bid on keywords like mortgage, right, I'd be paying an astronomical amount per click that we don't have the budget for. But if I'm bidding on those keywords and only to my retargeting audiences, now it becomes a different story.
You doing any YouTube right now?
Not right now. I like go back and forth with YouTube stuff. I go back and forth. Yeah,
it seems like if you have the search click, the high intent going to an agent partner site, and then your YouTube ad was like, hey, I saw you were searching with one of my agent partners recently. If you want to get pre-approved, the first step is to get pre-approved. Click here. It could work for you. I mean, just sit where you are now with the Bond Street in your background.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what we do a lot with the video advertising, even on Facebook. It's great from a branding perspective, right? Because even with our referral partners that are really good about sending business over, right? If you're an agent and you're working with a consumer and someone comes to your website, right, and they find a house and you're like, hey, call Shane over at Bond Street, and that person says, you know what, I've never heard of Bond Street Mortgage. I'm going to go with Quicken Loans, or I'm going to go with, you know, one of these bigger companies. But if I know that person, once they go to your website and start browsing houses, they at least see my brand, right? They see the brand, and they see, now they're more comfortable even having a conversation with me, because like, what's that, remember that commercial? It's like, oh, it's on the internet, it must be true, right? So it's like, I think the consumer feels like if they're familiar with the brand and that they know that like we're out there, then like you're not the type of person that's going to take advantage of them or anything like that, because you're so outward. Where if you're kind of like a brand nobody's heard of, like, well, I don't really know them, and things like that. And realistically, I'm not advertising to let everyone in the world know who we are, but I know that if they've been on your website, they've seen our brand and they're a little more comfortable having that initial conversation.
Gotcha. I was trying to find some examples of the video ads you guys are doing, because I know they're pretty cool. I don't know if these are them or if they're kind of dark on the ads platform.
It depends. We've mixed up a bunch of different ones. Most of them are probably on the business page there somewhere. Yeah. Those were ones that we were running for a little while that were more like client testimonial type stuff. I'll
drop these to everybody. You don't mind people go to your page?
Yeah, feel free. And then there's, some that we've done in the past that were more, utilizing other programs for just more, different types of videos. There's stuff, we've done in the past. There's random ones of me driving in my car. Realistically, it's like, it's just taking that content and putting it out in front of people who have already expressed interest in real estate, Yeah. So it's the same as anything, right? It's like when you post something, if I were to post a video on Facebook today, it could be the greatest video in the world, and 3 days from now, no one will ever see it again, right? So if you throw a couple of bucks behind that to put that video in front of people as they come visit your realtor partners' websites, and for agents, the same thing, right? Keep your face and brand in front of these people as they visit your website. I mean, that's why we're still able to close business on leads from 2015, because we've just kind of been staying in front of these people and being like, you know, hey, I'm over here. Oh, hey, I'm over here. Hey, whenever you're ready, here I am. And it's really, you know, it makes people comfortable when they start seeing your face and they start seeing your brand, that when they are ready, you know, I mean, it changes things across the board. Even calling leads, right? When you call a lead and I know that they've seen my face and seen my video, it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
You know, than when I mean, even with agents, right? When I do things like this, and I'll talk to an agent, you know, and they'll be like, "Oh, I saw you on, you know, that webinar or whatever." There's a different level of comfort in that conversation from seeing your face, hearing your voice, and knowing who you are, than if I were to just pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, you know, I'm just another mortgage guy. You want to go get coffee?" You know.
So I know you've done this with your agent partners. You help them come out of their shells and get some videos done. I've seen a few of them. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of the approach you take with them?
The approach that I take with them is kind of tell them not to think about stuff, right? Nobody, I don't think nobody, well, not to say nobody, but most people aren't comfortable behind the camera. I know one of the big things, even with myself, when I started doing, you know, videos for Bond Street, I kept trying to get people, you know, in the office, you know, that are better looking and have more experience to do the videos. And everybody like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And no one would. So then, like, you know, in order to get them to do it, I had to do a couple crap videos of me sitting in a t-shirt to piss them off enough to say, okay, let's do some content. You know?
I know the guys at your office, and I could see how that would
yeah, they're like, oh,
get them motivated.
You know, like they like can't wrap their head around it. So they're like, okay, well, we'll do videos then, right? But with most agents, it's like, I think that a lot of things with video, it's like, don't overthink the content, right? Don't, you know, realistically, when you're doing a video for, you know, retargeting and things like that, most people aren't going to watch more than 2 seconds of that video, right? So really all I want to get across is, like, you know, I'll do something like this. I'll put the Bond Street logo behind me. I want people to see my face, hear my voice, and decide whether they like me, you know? And that's really all you're doing with that, is just, you know, if you're bringing leads in and you have a database and you have 1,000 people coming through, there's a certain percentage of those people that just aren't going to like you, right? And you're either going to find out now, or you're going to find out later when you start working with them, and they're not going to like you because they're going to say, hey, you know what? I don't like guys that wear hats, you know? I don't like guys with beards. I don't, whatever. And those people were never going to like me. Then you have the other percentage of people that would like you just based on simple things like that, right? Hey, you know, this guy looks a little laid back. I could probably work with this guy. Oh, that guy, you know, whatever it is, that's you. And it helps kind of separate that audience out of who is your consumer, right? Because if you get that out of the way sooner rather than later, you'll start doing, I mean, and that's where weird things start happening, right? You start working with more people who are like you, you know, people who want to work with you. And when you get those audiences and those people, you get more referrals, right? You get more, because they're the people that they associate themselves with are people similar to them who are similar to you, and it kind of all works, and you're just like happier. It makes for a better quality of life all around, I think.
Yeah, you create better business for yourself. That's by attracting like minds. Here in the learning portal, if you click at the bottom left of the KV Core dashboard, it's kind of buried in the growth strategies, but we do have a course here about how to do basic retargeting, the kind of stuff Shane's talking about. And it's not too technical. I mean, once you do it once, you kind of get it, right?
And I think that's the thing, is that it's like intimidating, because what people tend to do is want to learn about everything before they try it. And if you literally just sit, like when I started doing it, I just followed steps, right? I just did it as I went along. And then once it's up and you kind of get an understanding of how it's running, you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. Because the initial setup is really most of the hard part. Other than that, you're just duplicating ads or adding another video in, or, you know, swapping things out. And it's really not super complicated. And I think it's actually even easier now with KV Core, because you can add that pixel and stuff all right on the back end.
Yep.
You have the ability to it's literally copying and pasting, and it's there. So
I will mention for anybody watching, it's occurring to me now that this is about a year old, this course, and the Facebook moved the Facebook pixel. So this might be outdated. I'm gonna have to go back and re-record this. But you can Google and they'll show you how to find the Facebook pixel. Okay. I know it's good. I do this on these webinars, then our support team starts nailing me the next day, like, hey, you said something, it's not true. All right. Yeah. So this has been great, Shane. I wonder if anybody listening has any questions for Shane. If you're a lender or you have any specific questions, feel free to do so. Shane's probably done more agent lender co-marketing, than anybody I know, so if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Let's see if we have any other notes here. Not really. What's working? Let's talk a little bit about the mortgage business. What's working for you guys right now? Is it mostly refis? What are you seeing in the market?
It's honestly both. I mean, we've kind of been very, we've always been very purchase centric as a company. We've honestly never, really done that much refi business, even on past clients. It's something that we've kind of always kind of struggled with. Now we've gotten better at it over the years, but at the end of the day, from a mortgage standpoint, the purchase business is sustainable, right? The refis kind of come and go. So before I joined Bond Street, I did mostly refis, and what I realized is, well, when rates go up, we were all broke, So it's nice to kind of keep that, main purchase business going. But we have been getting a lot of refis lately, a lot of past clients. The buzz is out there. Rates are low. I mean, rates have been low, but they're really, really low right now. And I don't know there's much room to go any lower, to be honest.
Business is booming. What are you seeing, with everything that's going on? I remember right when everything just hit, like some banks got really, really tough on jumbos, on credit qualifications. Do you still need like a 700 credit score, or did they relax back?
Things are starting to loosen up a little bit more. FHA was a big one early on that got hit. They were, they didn't really want to do it. Most of the government programs, right? The government was kind of like, we're going to stop, giving that money, and they've loosened up a little bit. I mean, even with FHA, they want, a couple months reserves and things like that, but you can utilize 401k money and things like that to offset those reserves. So they're starting to loosen back up a little bit. I mean, I think a big thing that we're going to see here is like whatever happens with like the forbearance issues and things like that, because there, definitely were a lot of people that I think just, that was a misconception that forbearance was going to just, I don't have to pay my mortgage for 3 months. Like, that's great, and it's like, that's never really the case, right? Like whenever someone says like, you don't have to pay them for a little while, my thoughts are always like, well, when do I have to pay them, or what are the repercussions of this going to be? So there's going to be a little, time going through that of, some of those payments are coming due, some got tacked at the back end. It really depends on the service.
I think there's a massive listing opportunity in that for people, not to take advantage of the bad situation, but anybody can get out in front of that, both from the mortgage side or the agent side.
We've been doing it even from, I told my guys, even from a refinance perspective, right? Most of those people, right? If your job hasn't been affected by what's going on, right? And you're still working, you're still making money, and your bank says, hey, you know what, we'll forgive your payment, and you're the guy that's just going to do it because you can. Well, here's another situation, right? Rates are low. Why don't you refinance? You'll skip 2 months of mortgage payment anyway, right? So that's what you're looking to do, right? So when you refinance, you're going to skip those 2 months anyway as your bank switches servicer. So there's your 2 months, and your payment's going to go down, right? So it kind of, you're getting, you're solving the problem by doing it the right way and giving a longer term solution, Now, granted, there's people out there that, by all means need forbearance. They're out of work. There's a lot of rough things going on out there. But, I think if for those people that were just going to take that package because they could, well, you could also refinance, or you could list your home,
I think
houses are going
educating about the ramifications of forbearance right now, because a lot of people might not understand, doing some kind of video or doing a blog post about that. And then either, with the call to action being, talk to me about refinancing, or talk to me about getting your house listed before it becomes a bigger problem than it is right now.
Well, then what we see now, I mean, even with, on the real estate side of things, is that I think early on there was so much uncertainty, right? So especially here in New Jersey, we were hit pretty hard, and people didn't want to list their house because they didn't want people in their house, right? And that was their biggest fear. Like, I don't want strangers walking through my house. Now that we've kind of gotten things a little bit better under control, right? There's masks, and, people are getting a little bit more comfortable with, maybe I don't want to have 5,000 people at an open house, but I'm willing to let people show my house. And especially when they're seeing, like, what we're getting where I am is like everyone leaving like Jersey City, Hoboken area, New York City, and things like that now want to get out to the suburbs because they are working from home. They may never go back to the office, and things like that. And what it is, it's like, it's bringing our home values are going crazy, because there's a lot of people with money that want to buy things. And
Are you running that ad for any of your agents yet? That seems like a no-brainer. Homes in the suburbs with big yards.
Yeah. No, I'm not running it as an ad, but it would be, a great ad, especially targeting, those places where, and now meanwhile, I have friends that work in those more urban areas as agents, and they're getting the listing inventory, but it's just sitting, it's just sitting because nobody's buying it.
Yeah.
Everyone wants out. I mean, I was talking to a friend who's an HR rep, right? And she's saying that, they're on like the 20-something floor in the city. And she's like, they want, they have, I guess, 200-300 employees. She's like, it's going to take 2.5 hours just to get everyone into the building following the guidelines. So she's like, we're probably going to give up our office space and send everyone to work from home for, the foreseeable future. So now that's, 300 people that now are going to say, well, I don't need to be in the city anymore,
Yeah.
Well, and it kind of opens them up more. So I think that's where, any suburbs of like large metros, I think are seeing a lot of that. And, even talking to agents across the country in more, not so urban or suburban areas.
Sorry. So, one second. This thing won't pause for me. Zoom's being weird.
All right, guys, it gives me a great.
All right, sorry about that. I was trying to bring up this interview where Jason Hartman, no relation, and George Gammon talked about what you're talking about right now. I wanted to share that with everybody about how it's kind of like two stories, with where the market's going. There's the city story, and then there's the suburbs and rural story.
Yeah, and it is. That's what we're seeing. I mean, in New Jersey, we're kind of, we see both of those markets, and it is. It's like, I had friends that, were looking for a place. They were doing exactly that, right? They were, they lived in Edgewater, which, beautiful view of the city, bedroom condo. They sold that, they got out, and then they were, in bidding wars everywhere they went down. They were looking down in Monmouth County because everyone was going there, when you have people, the people from that area might look at a house and be like, oh, that's kind of overpriced. But when you had a $1 million 2-bedroom condo, all of a sudden, $1 million for, this beautiful house with a yard and 5 bedrooms, people are like, whoa.
So yeah, that's interesting, especially in the urban areas.
Perspective.
Yeah. Cool. Nobody has many questions for you, but you've dished a few huge things, I think, here today. Definitely on the co-marketing with a lender, sharing each other's lists. If you did pay a bunch of money to Zillow to generate a bunch of data in the past few years, definitely run through this flow.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like, I feel like for lenders too, and I think there's more of them coming out with doing such things, but like, hold them accountable, right? And that's even when we started doing this, it was like, I don't want to be the guy that, you just say, hey, you want to, spend some money on Zillow, right? I don't want to just throw money at things and hope for the best or buy a relationship, right? I really want to, when we look at agent partners, like, I want a true relationship. I want to spend money together. I want to make money together. I want to, tweak systems together and figure out how we can work together to grow our businesses and do more business together and make clients more satisfied because we work better together. Not just like, oh, hey, can you pay for this for me or pay for that for me? Because that never really works. And if you have the lender that just wants to throw money at you, normally they have an expectation for their investment and you're not going to fulfill it, right? So then you end up, and I see that with agents all the time, that they end up jumping from lender to lender because they're just looking for that next person to spend the money. But if you have that problem, then the problem is not, the problem is both of you, right? It's the lender and it's the agent, because neither one of you is looking to really form a relationship and form a bond, right? And grow together. You're just, the lender's looking to buy business from you, and you're looking for someone to cover your expenses, right? And that's not, that's an abusive relationship on both sides.
That's a really good point. So if you are interviewing lenders, there is lender functionality in KV Core for anybody listening. Ask some questions. Shane, maybe you could help. One question I might ask is are you co-marketing with other agents, and do you run ads together? That might be one question.
Yeah.
See how savvy they are. I think retargeting each other's traffic, especially from the lender side, retargeting agents, that's genius. So ask
the amount. Like, I don't really know of anyone else that's doing that. I'm sure there's other guys out there that do it, at least to some extent. But I mean, that's been a huge thing, for our business internally, and, and just growth, right? It just helps grow our data sets. And, I mean, we're lucky in that, we have our own CRM systems and things like that I can always track those leads back to the agent, right, to serve them back. But, most, if a lot of lenders are working with only a couple agents, it's easy for them to just say, hey, you know what, it just helps convert that business.
Yeah. Great. Well, man, thanks a lot for coming on short notice.
Hey, that's all right, man. Thanks for having me. I miss doing stuff like this, to be honest. I've been kind of locked down here in the basement. It's nice to at least almost see somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So cool. Anybody have any questions at all? This is your chance. Otherwise, we'll get the recording live in the next few hours. Mary says, awesome. Shane, I'll let you plug, you've already plugged Bond Street Mortgage, but you guys are licensed in a lot of states, right? I'm sure you're welcome to have people contact you.
We are. Yeah. Anyone that wants to reach out. I mean, I don't even know the list offhand. I think we're in like 19 states or something, right now. Happy to talk. And honestly, like, I'm not even going to pitch you on the mortgage end, right? Like, it's I work with a lot of agents around the country who, maybe are in states that we're not licensed yet, or even in states that we are licensed that already have, a relationship there that they're happy with. Like, I'm a relationships person, right? So I think that, I have a lot of agents that I work with around the country who, I know will never send me business and have never sent me business, but I've grown very close with, but they have referred me to other agents who have sent me business, so it's kind of just, putting it out there. I like, and learning from each other, I mean, I've, we've worked a lot in the past, Ryan, and I think we both learned a lot from each other and things like that, but we don't know everything, right? And there's definitely, sometimes I think even knowing what we know, you get stuck in what you do. And then I'll be talking to someone, they'll be like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? And I'm like, well, actually, yeah, we could do that, and they might not have the knowledge to figure out how to do it, but I wouldn't have the idea on my own to do it, so, I love interacting with, agents and things like that to kind of put those sorts of things together.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about Shane's a real ninja, everybody, on the Facebook front. Now he's gonna he's doing some crazy stuff that I've never even thought of. Doug's asking, somebody asked to let them know once we update the retargeting video. I'll get this done in the next 24 hours. It's just the one video within the course. It's about 20 videos in the course. It's just the one right here. So don't let that hold you back from going and doing the course. The past recordings can be found at insiderealestate.com/webinars. It's a page that looks like this, insiderealestate.com/webinars. And then you just go to this blue button right here is the YouTube playlist. We also have our virtual training summit replays hanging out right there. And then how do you get a lender on board with you? Where do you start? And what should I look for when they start offering me stuff? I don't know what stuff is. The first step, you're going to need an agreement from the billing department if you're doing co-marketing. So I think you just let our support team know that you want to partner with a lender. And I think a good place to go for more strategy to follow up this conversation with Shane, I'll post this replay there. Maybe in the comments you can ask, but there are certain things you might want to look out for. So Shane, I'm going to ask you to come into the group later at Facebook, insiderealestate.com/Facebook group.
Yeah.
And we'll continue that conversation about some of the specifics to look for in a lender, and we'll let
just tag me in the post or whatever when you put the video up, and I'll, I'm happy to help anyone out. Look, like that's the thing. It's like, I just want to help people, man. Like, if, we're not the lender for everyone, but, at least be cognizant of what you're looking for in someone out there. There's a lot of lenders that'll, help, spend money with you or things like that, but really look for someone that honestly, that you're comfortable working with, the transactions, a transaction can get a little dicey sometimes, and we're both trying to just keep the consumer calm, and, we both have the same goal, right? And the goal is to get to the closing table and to earn more business and to kind of make it go as smooth as possible. So find someone that you mesh well with, right? That you're, comfortable saying, and that you're comfortable saying when they're doing something wrong. A lot of my agent partners come to me a lot of times and they're like, dude, I don't know whatever you ran, but it sucked and I hate it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's switch that up then. Thanks for letting me know, rather than like letting it fester, and we can always come up with solutions. And I think that's a big thing, is not only, being able to praise each other, but also call out each other's for their shortcomings or faults and say, hey, you know what, maybe next time we could do this a little better, and kind of work through that together.
Great. Big takeaway here, and Shane will agree, there is massive opportunity in co-marketing with the right lender in terms of pooling budgets together, pulling your follow-up efforts together, working leads from both sides, and Shane's probably the best at it out there as far as I know. Thanks again, Shane.
No problem, man. Nice chatting with you.
All right, have a good one.
Bye, everybody.